what? I want you to connect the dots for us, because I know that the Trump team has announced yesterday that you will serve as the cybersecurity advisor to President-elect Trump. And this is obviously right in your sweet spot. You've been talking about cybersecurity and working with companies now in your business for several years.
Yeah, 13 actually.
But connect the dots for us. I mean, how much culpability or responsibility should Hillary Clinton hold for all this hacking that we're talking about?
A tremendous amount, and so should President Obama for not doing a darn thing about it for 8 years. I've been on a soapbox for actually 10 years saying our offense in terms of cyber has gotten way ahead of our defense, because our offense makes a lot of money. Our offense is very fascinating. It's very interesting. We can analyze all kinds of information. We can do it quickly. You can go like that, and you can make a lot of money doing it. The defense didn't catch up with that. The defense stayed back here because that just costs money. You don't make money on it. Now our defense has to catch up to our offense. And the reality is everything is hackable. I'll give you a Jim Comey quote. There are two types of corporations in America. The ones that have been hacked by the Chinese and know it, and the ones that have been hacked by the Chinese and don't know it.
Right.
And Jim is pretty close to right on that.
When you say offensive, though, from a military perspective, I think of weapons. I think of actually being able to attack other systems in other countries. When you say that our offense got ahead of our defense, is that true when it comes to actually being able to, infiltrate other countries' cyber?
Well, first of all, very good question. Probably the thing we do best is defend our defense system. Of all the things we do, I'm talking public and private, because this is not just a public government problem, it's a private problem as well. We defend our defense systems probably better than we do anything else. And second, our ability on offense is awesome. We don't emphasize that. We shouldn't. But American people should know this is not a country without the same capabilities that other countries have, and considerably more.
It's like the Stuxnet virus that was in the Iranian.
If our defense was where our offense is, I wouldn't have to have been appointed, or anybody else that the president's going to have to appoint to try to catch up.
One of the things that's happened, though, Mr. Mayor, is there's been an expansion of the battlefield beyond just the defensive characteristics. And I've heard from people that the grid is a very likely target. There are other kinds of financial enterprises that can be a likely target. How are you going to reach across from what is typical battlefield kind of weaponry into the commercial space to protect them?
That's a great question, and it's exactly why President-elect Trump organized this group. The whole idea of this group is to reach out into the private sector, make sure that the CEOs and the people offering the solutions come into the White House, meet with him, meet with his people, and integrate the response, because he doesn't want the private sector left out. He realizes the problem you're talking about because he had to deal with it in his own business. Remember, the Republican National Committee was not hacked because the Republican National Committee, I happen to know this, had a much better defense system. It doesn't mean it couldn't have been. There's no 100% system. We were lucky in a way, but we did have a much better defensive system than they have. So what President Trump wants me to do is, on a regular basis, to bring people in, to meet with the people in the government so that we have an overall response. And when you mention the grid, you mentioned what Jim Comey and Jay Johnson, the head of Homeland Security, says is the #1 vulnerability, our grid. That's our #1 vulnerability. Number 2, probably our hospitals. Number 3, our financial institutions.
Wow.
Those are the 3 biggies. Then I can go on.
Yeah, but they're hacking us, China, Russia, North Korea, etc. But, I mean, we're listening in on them, too.
Well, I will not comment on the second part.
Okay.
But what you were talking about in terms of the commercial aspect of this, we're not just talking now about governments, we're also talking about crooks, people who move money around in accounts, people who launder money, drug dealers who use accounts to launder money. I had a case in which drug dealers laundered money through an account. They didn't even take any money out of the account. The guy didn't lose any money, but this money just went through his account. It was a nice account to move money through that nobody would pay attention to. I mean, you can't believe what these people... I had another woman, a couple of years ago, she goes to the Social Security office to collect the Social Security. Somebody's been collecting it for 4 years, and they wanted to put her in jail.
But that's like nuts and bolts of cyber. There's also a psychological aspect of cyber that I hope we're prepared to handle.
A ransom. Call up a hospital. Turn off a couple of machines. Tell the hospital, unless you put 100,000 in Bitcoin in our account, XYZ, the whole hospital's going to go out in 2 minutes.
Wow, really incredible
So
stuff.
we got a real problem here. But look, we've handled bigger problems. Unfortunately, the Obama administration, the Clinton administration, didn't pay enough attention to this. This is exactly the opposite. Donald Trump is personally involved in this. He wants people to personally come in and talk to him about the problem so he can understand it, at least from the executive point of view.
The Obama administration paid attention to it when they could use it as a political weapon after Hillary
Clinton. Oh, look at the hack. How about OPM?
Right. 20+ million.
Yeah. And we're talking about people's FBI background checks.
Yeah.
Like what their neighbors said about them. Stupid stuff that, you know.
If they've ever done drugs.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff untrue. Yeah. I've read lots of FBI stuff that's not true.
That was one of those
I don't mean the FBI did it. I mean the person telling the FBI did it. I don't want to attack the FBI any more than I think the FBI. I love the FBI, and I just hate to see them in this position. And this investigation, really, somebody's got to yell and scream. You got to start with Loretta Lynch, or you are not conducting a fair investigation. Give me a break.
Yeah, we'll see if they
Why is Comey in that position, but for the fact that the Attorney General completely and absolutely compromised herself?
It's incredible, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's
Rudy
a joke.
Giuliani. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you
very much.